Hey, Inanime here, and not much of an introduction to give. This is my list of the top 5 most dangerous Wonder Killers that we see in Wonder Egg Priority. Obviously, this list is subjectively my opinion, but the rankings are based on the amount of influence the Wonder Killer had on their Wonder Egg girl, the influence they had on our main characters, and their abilities as a Wonder Killer themselves. So, pull up a chair and let's discuss.
Their powers is overwhelmed and destroyed. The world's most shocking monster.
Starting out at number 5 is Yae's Wonder Killer, the Invisible Elephant Girl. Yae was a girl who suffered from what I believe was a form of schizophrenia. She was seeing things that nobody else could. The remedy was to throw her into a mental hospital, and being surrounded by more people with similar conditions was too overwhelming for her, and she committed suicide. Her Wonder Killer took the form of a girl with an elephant head and elephant-like features, and what made her powerful was the fact that she was invisible the majority of her fight with Ai. I ranked her number 5 because although she was a formidable foe, witnessed by the punishment she was laying down on Ai throughout their fight, she didn't have much of an influence on the real world other than being within Yae's own mind, and her defeat came with relative ease after Ai was able to see her. Coming in at number 4 is Minami's Wonder Killer, the Sports Coach. Minami was a gymnast who was very timid and lacked self-confidence. Based on her personality and her Wonder Killer, it can be presumed that she committed suicide due to not living up to her coach's expectations and the abuse she was suffering at her hands. Her Wonder Killer can be described as grotesque to say the least. She was a huge yellow monster with multiple arms and a pair of jumbo breasts that squirt out purple liquid. I rank her number 4 because she was a powerful foe and one that girls encounter on a yearly basis. She used her power of authority to torment Minami. While a good coach does try to push their players to their limits to get the most out of them, this coach did not try to uplift Minami, but rather would slap and beat her around. She was also a challenge for Ai, whose pen blade was not enough to take her down. Ai had to fight blind, so to speak, and use multiple weapons to finish her off. Coming in at number 3 is Kaoru's Wonder Killer, the Kendo Club Teacher. Kaoru is a transgender boy who had one of the most appalling situations of any of the Wonder Egg girls. He was a fun, gentle character who ultimately falls for Momo and hopes to ask her out if they ever meet again. His situation was one that many transgender teens go through. He was having questions and concerns about the feelings he was having about himself, and he felt confident in going to his kendo teacher to seek advice. Unfortunately, the kendo teacher saw Kaoru as a girl and took advantage of him in the worst possible way, resulting in a pregnancy. The trauma of both assault and being pregnant led Kaoru to commit suicide. The kendo teacher was a very powerful foe. He was a creature with a giant heart crown that imprisoned Kaoru. He had huge hands and a gigantic chromosome-shaped sword. He was able to throw Momo around and get on top of her, and it took all the strength she could summon to throw him off and finally slice him away. Much like the sports coach, the kendo teacher is someone who is in a position of power and authority, and he's ranked higher than the sports coach because he was someone who was sought for advice and betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. And in a head-to-head matchup with the sports coach Wonder Killer, I think he would win. Coming in at number 2 is Ai's Wonder Killer, Mr. Sawaki. Now this might be surprising, but hear me out. Mr. Sawaki is the Wonder Killer of the parallel version of Ai. He's charismatic, handsome, and a narcissist. He gloats how he easily fooled Ai with his attractiveness and how he talked parallel Ai into killing herself. He deems young love as something beautiful, but as a woman gets older, the love is dirty and of self-interest. So he tells parallel Ai she should die before she grows up. As a Wonder Killer, he's extremely powerful. He takes the form of a giant head with 4 paint tubes as appendages that he could shoot paint out of. Green paint being acid-like, and his yellow paint being slippery like paint. But the paint with the most power is the blue paint. It allows him to transfer Ai into a dream world where he attempts to manipulate her into killing herself with the assistance of an illusion of Koito. Mr. Sawaki as a man in Ai's reality has always been suspect because of the mysterious relationship he had with Koito and the interactions he has had with Ai. The parallel version of Mr. Sawaki is much like the Kendo Club teacher. He's someone who students are supposed to be able to trust when they need someone to talk to, but he used his position and his charisma to talk two girls, Koito and Ai, into killing themselves because of his own sick ideology. I ranked him at number 2 because despite the influence he had over Ai and the abilities he possessed, Ai was able to muster up the strength to defeat him on her own. The Wonder Killer in the number 1 spot was inches away from killing off a main character. And coming in at number 1 is Shino's Wonder Killer, the Cult Leader. I placed the Cult Leader at the number 1 spot because of how he almost managed to kill Rika and the overall influence he had on Shino and her family. Shino was a girl whose family was going through hard times. Her mother fell ill and her father was struggling at work. The Cult Leader convinced them to abandon their worldly possessions and then talked them into killing themselves to become one with the cosmos. As a Wonder Killer, he has a snake-like head that is attached to a beetle-like body, with multiple syringe appendages that are sharp and can shoot out bullets. Physically, he's not as strong as the other Wonder Killers, as we see Rika land blows on him that knock him down pretty easily. However, as they say the pen is mightier than the sword, it's his words that have the most impact. Rika acknowledges that he speaks New Age garbage and tells Shino her family was stupid to kill themselves because of it. However, Shino and the Cult Leader are able to slowly break Rika down when Shino shows Rika the similarities that they both have, and the Cult Leader begins working his verbal magic and convinces Rika that she should partake in his hug of life. Even when Ai, Niru, and Momo try to snap her out of the spell, it has no effect, and the Aka brothers are even convinced that Rika is most likely about to die. It takes Manon summoning himself out to defend her and break her out of the spell and finally down the Wonder Killer. The Cult Leader proves to be the most dangerous because, in this case, not only did the A girl kill herself, but her whole family did as well, and we could presume that he has convinced many girls and their families to kill themselves as part of his religion/cult. Basically, if you got him in a room with the other Wonder Killers, he could probably defend himself, but would have the most impact over them because who knows if he would be able to convince them to take their own lives as well. But there you have it. That's my list of the top 5 most dangerous Wonder Killers in Wonder Egg priority. I'd like to know who your number 1 is or who your top 5 are in the comments below. And go ahead and tap that subscribe button. I'm an anime, and I'm out. Anime.